Hi, this is Shakira.
And this is Lia,
We're cooking up a great conversation.
starting with a cup of insights,
Add a tablespoon of fun.
a slice of drama,
Drama. A pinch of salt.
para may konting alat, and lots of pepe.
Siyempre, may anghang.
Welcome to Salt and Pepe Podcast.
Welcome to Salt and Pepe Podcast. We are back. I am Shakira Season.
Hi everyone, I'm Lia. Welcome back. And it's already our third episode. Nice.
Time flies.
Oh, but before we go to our third episode, so happy the past week's reception for our podcast. Sobrang touching. I have actually my friend from San Francisco said you have to tell this, okay? So I go, okay. So basically she just really wants to thank the both of us for this podcast kasi parang the other day she was not really feeling her best self. And then she decided to listen to the podcast. And it made her feel better kasi there's like a sign or a hope of positivity.
I'm
Diba?
glad.
Sobrang nice. And she just really wanted to add, actually, she agreed and she liked what I said about yung part na moving on, na you can't do it alone. If you can reach out to people, go for it. She just wanted to mention na it's not a sign of weakness if you do that. So she wanted to tell people na hope they would follow that advice and to tell them that it's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah, actually, it could be a sign of strength, diba? Being brave enough to lean on someone and to open up. So that's good feedback. I
Super good.
also heard from a friend. Again, Didi Paterno, hello, shout out. Um, she found our episode 2 to be relatable, and she said that she's really enjoying the long form discussion. And I said, well, it's definitely a different vibe from K Talk. I feel like we're trying to do something different here and trying to really be more in depth with our discussions and conversations. And hopefully, our audience receives it the way we feel about it. It's just cuento. We're just two friends hanging out and hoping to learn from each other and hopefully impart something to our listeners, right? So I'm so excited to report that we now have like 500 plus subscribers, which is cool. Thank you to our new listeners as well as the ones that were carried over from K Talk. And also we now have 9,000 plays. So, I think when we ended K Talk, maybe we had 8,000, 7-ish or 6 ba? Ewan ko. Basta at least 1,000 new plays is
For sure.
not bad, right? Even if 500 nun tayong dalawa. I'll take it. As long as we're reaching, you know what, if we're reaching 2 people and they learn something, or we're able to brighten up their day or entertain them during their commute or driving or
Chores.
chores, which is what I do now. I listen to podcasts while walking the dog. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the feedback, and thank you for listening.
And lastly pala, before I forget, because we also had viewers na who gave naman their information about the 3-month rules.
Mm-hmm.
It really came from One More Chance, the movie. And na-mention na naman ito, sorry, I think it was mentioned also in K-Talk, and I'm sure you haven't seen it yet.
I mean,
But it's okay.
the movie, right?
Yeah, the movie
Yeah.
One More Chance. I think it's really Filipino pop culture siya talaga.
Mm-hmm. And I apologize for not being
It's okay.
really keen on any kind of pop culture, really. So, hindi naman ako nagdi-discriminate na Pinoy lang. So in fair. Right?
So with that, super again, even me, I'm so happy that our listeners are having so much fun listening. Ako din, I've been learning so much about you, about me also, and about things that have been happening, and our topic again is helping a lot.
I think that's why I think we're inspired by the fact that we are really learning a lot from each other. So that's why our topic today is timely because, I'm learning even more great things about you, my friend, than I already knew. I mean, because being friends for this long, I know all the great things about you, and you probably know all the like good things about me. But we always kind of shy away from the difficult parts. So, I guess coming up with this topic, I also wanted to learn the not so great things about each other, and I also wanted to talk about my terrible flaws as well.
Wow. So why do you want to share the not so great things, or that you said terrible flaws?
I guess because it's kind of like a really a taboo subject we talagang iniiwasan kasi natin yun because it's like why even discuss that or why that's something na just culturally we
Mhm.
don't talk about the negative things. But and also when we get to know people or we spend time with people, we're always focusing on our good side, like always putting our best foot forward.
Kaya pala yung topic natin for now is worst foot
Foot
forward.
forward.
Yon. So if people are curious na yun, alam ko na, well, are curious about it, yon, that's our topic. Worst foot
Foot
forward.
forward. So I mean I've also always felt like reflection, self-awareness, accountability. These are all crucial parts of self-development and naming our demons is the first step in conquering them. Plus, it's also funny to know each other's annoying traits. At saka, siguro, ulterior motive ko na rin is para meron tayong episode na full disclosure sa yung mga future dates. I can just say, oh, you wanna get to know her? Episode 3! Episode 3, kung ayaw mo, wag na. Kaya mo, wag na because nandyan na lahat eh.
So talaga may resume talaga. So with of course, the first part talaga of self-improvement, like anything, like we've talked about this already, is really getting to know yourself first. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know, it's so hard to step back and really think about your reactions,
Mm-hmm.
what you
Mm-hmm.
can do, right? So again, it's always great to be aware of this.
Yeah, and actually just saying it out loud, I think. Like we all know our irritating habits, but actually actually verbalizing it, I feel like there's a certain kind of power to it. And it forces you to think about, bakit ba ganon? And, just talking about it, it's like something that you don't really do. You never sit down with your friends and say, let's talk about paano tayong nakakaasar na mga tao.
Yes. But we actually know your real friends when they're very comfortable already telling you, right? But because
Right.
usually, exactly, we don't talk about it,
Mhm.
we don't ask about it. Sometimes we just hear it from good friends or family, and it's there, right, in our faces na lang.
Or lumalabas siya in a bad time and you're actually revealing yourself in a bad situation that affects others instead of like kind of like preempting na parang letting them like get to know you and all your sides, right? I mean, it's not a serious thing. We don't have to we can start with just the little annoying habits and personality traits that we have, and we all have them, even though we think that people might not notice. I think we all have like annoying things about us.
Yes, ako, mababaw muna. Babaw. I know it's talaga super babaw because not naman everybody is particular. So one, I know I'm a bad speller and I still continue without even checking. So sometimes I'm sure my friends who enjoy writing might see that, but I know it's not super bad. But I tried. I have always the dictionary and Google by my side. Pero
Why do you think that is?
kasi I like posting di ba? And ako rin naman, usually when I post, nagmamadali, I'm excited
Okay.
I don't check. And then after that, when I check, oh, shucks. But I change it naman. Pero it's just funny how I'm such a bad speller. But yun lang. And then, of course, seriousness aside na. So ito na yun. When I was younger talaga, I know my really not so good traits when I was younger. Talagang, I was burara. sensitive, iyakin. So, um, but my parents are the one talagang continues telling me about looking after about my things. So, really, I know talaga, Burara, but if my parents will see me now, they'll say, wow, you finally listened to us. No. Kasi right now, I have a place for everything. My cousin came here. Siya, wow, Leah, you have everything all fixed. Your cabinets are blah blah blah. I'm like, wow, if my parents could see that, they would be just laughing like anything. When I was younger, then super duper din ako. Yeah, I think I was really sensitive. Um, when I was Pero I told you it's talagang when I was younger because I really tried to adjust those things. So when I was like 10 or 11,
Mhm,
my cousins, sila man talaga yung barkada ko, my really good friends or my cousins. They said, you know what? You should stop doing that kasi it's not nice.
mhm.
But I really had to just be tougher and try not to be iyakin.
Why do you think you were sensitive and iyakin in the first place?
Sometimes I really didn't think about it. Diba? Parang I didn't think right now, kasi when you were younger, you didn't think naman about being sensitive or
Maybe
iyakin.
you're just feeling more than the usual person. It's
Yes,
not
I true.
necessarily a negative thing.
I'm a Piscean, but because naruruwan yung playtime eh.
Yeah, it's true, I
It's
guess.
like it's really a babaw thing na parang if I don't get, you know, lagi akong taya, like one of that, or if they decide they want to hide from me, and then I start crying, and then it ruins the fun. Then,
Mhm.
diba? Paano ba naman taya ka? Ikaw yung mabagal. Talagang ikaw yung taya. Diba? Something like that na I cry and then I will say, ay, ayoko na maglaro. So, you break the
Oh,
fun and
pikon nga, parang pikon, parang you're no fun to
so,
play with, I guess. Hindi ka.
exactly.
Yeah, so I guess it's not so much as you're sensitive, I think. I think it's more like you didn't know parang the rules of engagement during play. 'Di ba? Kasi sometimes, I mean, we all have like varying degrees of sensitivity, but when you're a child, parang playtime, there's a certain kind of is like SOP and kung magdadamdam ka, usually you keep that as saka ka na magdadamdam because it's like, you can't let the game or whatever it is be interrupted by yung may nagtatampo dyan. It's really no fun. Ayaw mo nang isali, right? Di ba?
So, ayaw mo na talagang isali, but yeah, diba? And you don't want naman
Yeah.
to leave that person there. So, they stop
Oh, that's
altogether.
sweet. That's sweet of them, though, to let you know.
Yes, they really. And then, eventually, because it's not only done naman to me eh. Parang I told you, di ba, tough love naman talaga in my family. So when nakita mo na yung younger ones na napass ko na yung, yung torch, na ipipikon, parang, okay, it's not lang for me. I don't need to be that sensitive. Ikaw, what was your mababaw?
Mababaw. Well, one of my mababaw things is that I don't even know if it's a flaw. It's just something that I was not born with. I really have no sense of direction. Like as in, pag pumasok ako sa public restroom, after I go to the bathroom, hindi ko na alam yung way out. Hindi ko na alam kung nasan yung door. I'll open the closet or something in the public bathroom. And then when I finally step out, I don't know where left or right or whatever. Like, I don't know. My memory just doesn't work that way. Like, I don't have a sense of like personal bearing, but I'll remember everything that people were wearing inside the bathroom and what they were talking about because my brain works that way. Pero yung direction, I can't seem to figure that out. And so maybe that's also why, you know, I get lost easily. And that's why I'm also not a fan of driving, which is also my other flaw. Yeah.
But is that something that's annoying for
It's
you?
it's annoying for people, I guess, around me if I get lost all the time. I'm so used to it now. At saka, I've accepted it as like part of me. Na I was not gifted with that. I was not blessed with that skill. But I've been blessed with so many other things. Katulad nga nung I mentioned, my memory doesn't work that way, remembering sense of direction. But I can remember every single thing. Sometimes I still remember what people were wearing during a conversation 10 years ago, or exactly what they said. So for me, that's, and people, a lot of people don't have that. Most people don't have that memory, but I have that. So, it's like give and take. You can't have it all. But for some people, it's annoying because parang simple direction hindi ko naman makuha, right?
You'll be surprised. Actually, I know somebody, I forgot lang who. See, I can't even remember who had the same, doesn't know the right or your left. So I was wondering, huh? But it's a constant eh. Talagang
Yeah.
lalalos talaga. So now you said that, you have
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know somebody who's like that. So
Yeah.
that I say, okay, don't worry, ako na bahala. Just sit tight. Just tell me
Yeah.
the pace. Sense of direction naman ako.
Yeah.
I
You
can
know,
go
and
on.
and I bet it has something to do with like being the left brain and the right brain, and some of us are just born with a certain ability, and another ability is sacrificed. So I don't feel bad about that.
Ako naman, eto, so, mababaw, and then I think ito mid, hindi okay. When it comes to like huge gatherings, or like if I'm invited to like a big party and I know there's a lot of guests, I really don't come on time. I'm so sorry. Now you know this to my friends. Pagdating ng, I don't know, is it with my friends who invite me to a big party with a lot of people who will come? Um, for some reason I'm like 15 minutes late, 10 minutes late,
That's not bad
um,
though.
or 30 minutes. Eh, because if it's others, I'm early eh. Like if you tell, well, for this one, like this podcast, late ako kasi, ang dami pala nangyari today. Hindi ko na-anticipate. So, um, but if like we're gonna meet in a cafe or I'm gonna meet with somebody, I'm there on time. When I train, coach is always there 15 minutes, 30 minutes before the training. I'm there
Mhm,
already just in
mhm,
case a player
mhm.
comes early. When it comes to meetings, nandun din ako. Pero for some reason, I really don't know why. Siguro ayoko lang, I just wanna blend in the crowd.
Mhm.
I think yun eh. And then I'll just see my friend. And
I
then
think
I
that's
won't want,
understandable.
or I think I know they won't notice naman. Something like that.
If it's a party, I don't think it really matters that much. Basta nagpakita ka at some point, I think. You know. I
Siguro.
mean,
Pero
but yeah. But
it's still
speaking
time.
of, yeah,
My dad kasi is, you have to value people's time. You told
it's
them
true.
to go on that time, you better go on that time. But for some reasons, if it's a large gathering with
I
other
think you're like subconsciously probably, avoiding that. And I understand that perfectly because um I'm on the opposite, polar opposite of you. I'm very obsessed with time. I get super stressed when people are late, and or if I'm going to be late because of other people. I just try to like calm myself down because for the most part it's not really like life or death situation, unless it's like super super important. Then I really have to stress, like, can we leave on time, can we do this, right? But I also know where it comes from because in my family growing up, my parents were really strict on time. Especially my dad, talagang kahit 1 minute late ka, iiwanan ka talaga. Or you don't show up, pagka susunduin ka talagang iiwanan ka. So sorry. So I think that's why also there's like this huge weight. But then going back to your avoidance of social gatherings, I too have that. Well, I avoid social gatherings in general because I'm just introverted that way. But I'm known to parang subconsciously avoid things to the point na it's really absurd. Like there was one time na I think 70th birthday party ng late father-in-law ko. And so I was there to attend the party. And because I guess I was internally freaking out about all the guests that were coming, hindi ko naman party, right? I decided to like go to a nail salon and get a pedicure, which I never get, na umabot ng 3 hours kasi parang ang dami kong dinadagdag na, no, okay, leg massage or like parang skin treatment or whatever. Foot, foot spa, ganyan-ganyan dinadagdag ko even though I don't even do that. And then hindi ko lang man napansin na tapos na yung matatapos na yung party, tinetext na ako ni Rosa parang, where are you? Whatever. I'm not done. And she's like, the guests are leaving. Where are you? And then parang hindi nag-occur sa akin until the party was over and we were like on our way home na parang, where were you? What happened? Ako parang, I didn't even like think na parang, oh shit, I guess I should have been there. Right?
Yes.
And I guess I should have been present. Ako pa naman parang, it's not my party and whatever, ang daming tao. Like, sometimes these things that are little fears or I guess insecurities or dislikes can take over. Right? And you do things na hindi mo sinasadya because it just takes over and it kind of like takes over your common sense. Right? So I guess that's also one reason it's good to talk about these things because then right? For example, you're not just a late person and you're late when it's a big gathering because you don't want all the attention on you or you don't want to break the whatever's going on. And so it's rooted to some kind of like social anxiety too. And as long as you're not like 2 hours late or, diba? I think that's another matter, like altogether, right?
Pero I think I should change that too. Kasi naman, I'm a believer of also going on time naman talaga. Diba? So,
Ang dami ko pang mga kung ano-anong mga annoying things like, I don't know, you said you were burara. I'm a little messy too. I feel like um the state of my surroundings is always reflective of what's going on in my head. Like I always have a lot of hobbies and projects, a lot of things going on and a lot of things that I start and may not finish. I have never been diagnosed, but I probably most likely have ADHD. And like a lot of people who are probably are undiagnosed too. I feel like it's a fairly common condition that we just never got to name in our generation. But now, diba, it's very common to get a diagnosis like that. And I also wouldn't be surprised if I am in the autism spectrum too. Like my siblings and I are just kind of like a little special that way, kind of like a little odd. Our minds work differently, and I now have like nephew who's also special needs. So then it kind of like makes sense now. But back then, kasi it's not really talked about, diba? So you never get that. So I feel like not saying that that's a flaw, but it's like a something that makes, I guess, me unique, and sometimes it inconveniences people because I don't
what
blend in,
else?
right? I also get a little bit like obsessed with food and water. I think I have like a scarcity mindset and also eating fast. Like my siblings and I all eat very fast because just that's just how we eat in our family or else mauubusan ka ng food. So and just I think like especially traveling, always need to have water. I need to have a source of water. I need to already have water around me. Parang nasistress ako if I don't have water or snacks. Even though hindi naman ako magugutom or whatever, it just makes me feel like more secure, right? So, and like you, dislike for crowds, big groups, this avoidance tactics about that. And I guess this one is really a flaw, my dislike for driving.
I
It's
don't
just
think,
not my skill.
but it's a good thing to know for
Yeah.
emergency.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do have the basic skills. I do have a license. I can drive. I can go to the grocery store. I can take my wife to the hospital if I need to, but I don't enjoy it like you. I know you really love to drive, and I know a lot of people, and I married one of them, thankfully, who really enjoy it. It's not something that I enjoy, and I'm constantly working to be better about that. So it's a work in progress, right?
always naman talaga, diba? Especially if you're aware of it. So sometimes it also helps that the person you're with is aware of it also because it's something that you can, if it comes to a point na that day hindi siya in a good mood and
Yeah.
iba, konting thing will just tick. her off, then at least you can say, "Oh, you're doing that again. Can
Mhm.
you not? Can you not today?" Something.
Yeah, well, at least we're aware. We're aware of it, right? It's a good thing. I think it's a good exercise. And I guess that's why I also suggested this topic because it's just nice to talk about it. And I feel like throwing it out there in the open, that means you name it, right? And whatever power it has over you, right? It's kind of, it disappears. It's just like, growing up gay, when you hear yung mga slur, tinatawagan ka ng tibo or bakla or whatever. And if you just say it out loud and you own it, then now you're empowered by that and it can't be used against you, right? And there's a time actually na I think when I was more active on social media, someone decided to insult me by saying autistic ka siguro. And I'm just like, first of all, that's not an insult. And you're probably right. I'm probably like on the spectrum somehow. And I think that's a great thing. It's so then it loses power as opposed to ay na-insulto ka or whatever. Like I feel like saying it out loud and putting these things out to like light will help you also regain your power over all of these things, right?
Super. I would agree on that too. Just saying it out loud because you already acknowledge it. Pag sinabi sa'yo, alam ko na. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Parang hindi ka na
So,
nasaktan.
like, parang naunahan mo na, right? I'm working on that. So whatever's brought to your attention, like, oh, sometimes you're like this. And like, yeah, I know. I'm actually in therapy about it. So at least I'm doing something about it. Yeah, so those are
True.
I guess, our few little annoying, slightly funny traits that we have. Moving on to more serious flaws, at least those things that actually affect others or our relationships, right? I'll start. I feel like for the most part, I try to maintain my composure and try to be calm and like take things lightly. But, pag napupuno rin ako, I feel like I do have a temper sometimes and it takes a lot for me to react. But once I do, I feel like lumalabas yung rage and anger, right?
Ako, for some reason yun talaga wala akong temper at all. Um, if I get really angry, I really don't. I I will still say it in a nice way, like that's not nice, or something like that, or something like I really didn't like what you did yesterday. I think because we always say that it's I guess from your background growing up.
Mhm,
I have a list mom. I don't see my parents fight. When they get
mhm,
angry, they really go in the room and discuss. And
mhm,
when they get angry, it's not a shouting match, although
mhm,
there are voices sometimes, but it's so rare.
mhm,
So I don't see anger in the house.
mhm, mhm.
So I think
So that's nice.
and it's always cheerful eh. I mean, 'di ba? And for me kasi anger is like a negative.
Mhm, mhm,
It's just a negative feeling.
mhm,
But I know when I'm angry. Ah, nga pala, I forgot. When I get angry, it's just really with bad drivers. As in, one time, in the Philippines yun talaga. As in, you will see, I think dun ko nilalabas. Diba? Parang I cannot get angry with a person directly na I know. Because siguro
mhm,
as I know it may come from
mhm,
something.
mhm,
But if I don't know, tapos talagang really horrible. Like
mhm,
you block the intersection.
mhm,
You especially blocking the intersections really that's it. You would see I would curse, I would
mhm.
give the finger, and then
I'd
really
like to see that because I've never seen you really angry. So parang feeling ko masya-shock ako pagka
shock ka
nagmura
talaga.
ka habang
Karen was shocked.
nagda-drive.
Karen was shocked. Huh? Talaga siya. Ganon! As in, ganon! As in,
Diyan ka
really,
pa tumapang baka mabugbog ka. Ang liit yung
yon.
tao.
That was so funny. Can I just make a kwento? This is one funny kwento. So, she got shocked because yun nga, in the Philippines, may road rage talaga eh.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, then they can just come and bring you like a pipe or whatever. So she goes, please, please, huwag kang magagalit na, ganyan. Pabayaan mo na lang kasi we don't know what's gonna happen. Okay, fine. Okay na ako. Of course, that really, that horseshoe intersection was anyway, I'm sure the one in the Philippines know that. That intersection in Horseshoe in Kamkrame in Cubao, that's really a horrible
Mhm.
intersection. So anyway, of course, Mr. Taximan blocks. There's nowhere to go, Nay. Can't move. This other lane is going. Then let them be. You'll move sometime. So he blocks. And sabi ko, ang reaction ko lang ganyan. And then I guess that Mr. Taxi driver saw it. So parang his face was like this. Ako, because I remember I told Karen I won't get mad. Si Karen naman, hinawi talaga ako. Sabi, ano po? Sabi, nainis ka naman. I was just so ready not to. And she just got my juju. So I was just laughing. We were laughing.
Yeah.
Akala ko hindi na mag-aaway, hindi na magagalit. She saw kasi the reaction of the driver. So she didn't know.
Yeah. So nauna na siya na parang, oh, kung hindi ka magagalit, ako yung magagalit. And
Sarap-sarap.
I always think about you when I think about temper or rage. And I think this is a conversation that Karen and I had before. Now, when we think about you and how calm you are, even in a stressful or parang confrontational situation, we both agreed na tama talaga yung pagpapalaki sa'yo because you're equipped with those skills of like stepping back, not like, going with the emotions, and you just kind of like calmly talk about it. And it's such a great gift and a blessing to grow up with that and to actually have that skill as an adult because of your upbringing. And I can't help but feel envious because I was not raised that way. Mine was a very volatile upbringing where there's really a lot of tension and stress and anger and rage. And although I've like fought really hard like all my life to not be that way, sometimes it's just in you, right? Because you didn't learn a different way of communicating and you didn't see people, adults, calm themselves down in a stressful situation. So I think that's such a great thing that your parents did for you, and so that's how you are now. And you don't meet a lot of people like that. So yeah, it's very interesting and really good to know that that actually exists. Parang decent human being.
I think it's the cyclery of my mom. I really thank my lolo and my lola who have been that way ever since also.
Mhm,
We don't see they get angry, but it's a different kind of angry. They really talk to you eh. They treat us as adults.
mhm,
May papaluin ng basta-basta. You say, why did you do that? Ganon talaga. They ask you, and then you're just like, diba? Next time, don't do that. Ganon lang yun. You know they're angry.
mhm,
Don't
mhm,
be really raging mad. Diba?
mhm,
Yung hindi
mhm,
nakakatakot. Alam mo, nagkamali kasi nag-raise ng voice, hindi
mhm.
tama yung ginawa mo.
But you know why, right? As a child, you know why. And
Exactly.
it's not like there's an anger that's coming out of nowhere and you can't fix it and you don't really know what you did. So you just feel like you did everything wrong and there's no solution and there's no answer, right? So that's such a great thing.
Thank you, Lolo and Lola. And Mom. So, since ako naman, I think top, ano talaga, procrastinating. That's,
Mhm,
I think, more with me. Parang, I want to do a lot of things, but for some reason, I always put it back. I don't know why. Um, I'm sorry, I have to bring up Karen all the time kasi we didn't know you
Yeah,
naman.
that's the last decade of your life, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
hindi naman bawal as you're talking about your experience. So, it doesn't mean anything other than
Just
personal
make it kwento,
history.
right? Yeah.
Personal history.
So, talaga, pag impunto, gawin na natin. Ganun. Ako talaga, kasi minsan 2 weeks pa eh. Alam mo yun? And sometimes you wanna see also baka naman you're gonna change something in the mid.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't like that also. You do something to say, ay, ayoko pala niyan. You know, before I do something, I really, really, really think about it. I
Mhm,
want to make sure because when I do it, I'm committed to it. And
mhm,
ayoko yung feeling na I went there na, ay, magbaback out ako.
mhm, mhm,
Hindi ganun. So I think, and of course, yun, I do procrastinate, but I don't cram. Kumbaga, I have also that leeway of 2 days before, it's not like 3 hours. No naman. Parang ganon.
mhm,
I just procrastinate, but I don't cram. I don't like naman cramming also. I want to be prepared eh.
mhm,
So, in that sense, I don't think that's good for me. I think I want to just, I have to fix that. And of course, imposter syndrome.
mhm,
I always think na maybe that's my flaw. I'm not good enough. So that's why I
mhm.
guess I procrastinate. So I don't know. So maybe those are the things, diba, na parang I really want to be more aggressive with my decisions.
Mhm,
Important decisions. I want to be really maybe financial. This actually now at this age, I want to be aggressive with my financial decisions.
mhm.
Not to be afraid, want to go into business. Mga ganun na in that
Uh-huh.
sense.
Mhm, mhm,
And I think so that's for me, but I think my most fatal flaws are really with my relationship with my friends. I want to be a better friend. And I'm sorry to my other friends. You've always been there. Parang ako, hindi pa ako, I don't give my full self.
You
Yun ang,
you think you're a bad friend? That would never occur to me that you would think that you're a bad friend.
I don't think I'm a bad friend in terms of giving my time to
Mhm,
listen,
mhm,
there for them. But I think if you are really a good friend, you will also be vulnerable. You will
mhm,
also share yourself with you
mhm,
because
mhm,
they share themselves. Why don't you trust them that you can
mhm,
share yourself?
mhm. I get it.
So I want to be that kind of friend. Parang meron akong, hindi man ako, I guess, trust issues sa friends. I think I haven't resolved that. Ngayon, napapaisip na talaga ako ngayon, no? Pero yun talaga, I have to be honest. I'm there for them. Anything, what I can do, I will
Mhm,
do for my friends. I will give them the support they need.
mhm,
But I know that if you are a friend, you reach out to them, right?
mhm,
Parang I don't mind kasi if they don't talk to me, okay lang yun. Pero siyempre, hindi ganun ng friends eh, di ba? Hindi naman like you're like that with all people, but
yeah.
the friends that you have, I really want to make up for that. So it's funny one kwento. Usually what happens is we go out to friend's house na yun ah. House na hindi pa yun outside. House na yun. Okay, inuman, having fun talaga. Pero sometimes may dinadamdam ka, di ba? So, punta ka doon mga what, 9:30, 10 o'clock,
Mhm.
So after that, pagdating ng mga 2 o'clock, biglang, they just ask the right question, kamusta ka na? Boom! Doon lang ako mag-open up. 2 o'clock na. Dapat magtulog na. Uwian na. That's why there's a joke lagi. Papandisalan na naman si Lia because pandesal time na eh. Yung inuman time, kanina yun eh. Like, talk. But they're so nice. They stay and listen. So,
Oh.
alam mo yun, nakakahiya lang, diba? That they should have been resting na nga, but they still, because I couldn't open up myself, it's so hard for me to say, uy, alam mo, may kwento ako. Hindi ko, can't even do that. So, I wanna change that in me and be more open to my friends because they've been so nice. That's why I'm so
Mhm,
emotional when it comes to them because
mhm,
I know I'm not that kind and I wanna be a better friend. Yun lang. I'm not a
mm.
bad. I wanna
Baka
be a
naman you're just limited, like you don't really share everything with everybody, and you have like, small circle, or maybe it just takes you a lot. Because I'm the same way. I try as much as possible to not share like problems, right? Especially, I think we're similar in that way na parang may at least we think we're independent and we can fix it on our own. So you don't want to share it kasi baka maayos mo naman. Parang you'll only try to lean on someone pag feeling mo na hindi mo na talaga kaya. But then I feel like we've also had so many experiences where the effect of you sharing something has more bad effects than you just fixing the problem. Like yung parang lumalaki pa yung problema sometimes. So it's, yeah, I think it's normal to have trust issues. And I feel like also as we mature, I think your circle of friends actually gets smaller. Like true trusted friends gets smaller. So I think it's understandable naman na ganun. But it's also a good awareness to have that you want to be better. You want to, show more of yourself because it does. I learned this recently that, sharing something of yourself and then seeing the other person react or, understand what you said or try to help it. That's the foundation of growth. It feels good and it's a bonding moment, right? So that makes your friendship stronger. It's good for each person to share and grow that way. So that's the benefit of that, and you don't get to have that if you don't share and you don't lean on someone, right?
That's so true. So
Right,
right now,
that's
my
true.
friends are just talking, and we're learning. We've been friends like wow, grade school, but we don't really talk about stuff about.
Yeah. I think that's also pretty normal. Parang you don't talk about your problems, especially marital problems or just things that really bother you deep down. And I guess that's another reason why we came up with this episode because we want to talk about the hard things, the things that we avoid talking about. Because I feel like it helps for other people to hear na parang, uy, pwede palang pag-usapan yun. Pwede palang aminin na ganito yung feeling mo, like about that. Like, other like more serious flaws that we all have. Like me, I can have some rage issues, anger issues, and temper issues. I'm very sensitive to criticism sometimes because of my upbringing. I grew up also in a very highly critical household. And I think that also is tied into just my tendency to be sad and dwell about things. I think it's a permanent state and you just grow up with this. Parang sa'yo, you grew up in like a light-hearted happy, calm. So you bring that with you throughout your life and adulthood, and you have a sunny disposition about things because you know that you're surrounded with that. You know that everything is wonderful, and if something is not that time, it's gonna be better, and you have people around you who love you or whatever. So on the other end of that, some of us are born into the exact opposite environment of everything is sad, everything is angry, there's no solution, and it's just hopeless, and it's hard to break out of that, and it's a constant struggle for me. Maybe the subconsciously also, like me and my siblings, married happy people. Happy people, because I guess we just need that contrast, because I feel like if we had gotten together with equally sad, depressive people, I feel like voila, it's just hopeless. So we're always drawn to people who have a sunnier disposition, more encouraging, more positive, and always stay looking at the bright side. And I guess also part of that na or that whole package is also trying to get out of that permanent state of like a gloominess or sadness. I feel like I'm very predisposed to addictions, whatever it is, food, or like if I like something, I really have to have it every single day until masuka na ako or something, or people get attached to people so much, until it becomes a disaster. So I think because there's always just kind of like this desperate need to break out of the state of sadness or depression, whatever it is, whether it's a substance or a person or a habit or food or vice or whatever. So that's part of like the whole package of my messed up life, I guess. Right?
Oh, pero ang galing, diba? At least you really observe your reaction to
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, you
This is what
know,
happened to me. This is my reaction. So you can see
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I guess I've also had a lot of time to think about it. And I guess that's why I was really attracted to this topic because I feel like it's good to know where things come from, the root causes of things, right? Instead of like, ganun ako basta. You know, like, wala na. Like, bakit ba? Parati akong mainis, di wag mo, parati akong naiinis, so wag mo akong inisin, period. Right? Everything is rooted in our fundamental core experiences. So I'm always trying to like look back at where all these things come from. Hindi naman sa sinisisi mo lahat sa past mo, but it comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from just nowhere na parang basta personality mo na lang. You know, it always comes from somewhere. Like that's why I asked you earlier, bakit ka ba iyakin or sensitive before? I don't think you were just born that way. I just feel like there was something that was making you feel more or just, where losing a game during playtime made you really feel crushed. There's a root cause of that, and I'm always very interested to learn that about myself, about others, and to analyze where that's coming from. Because like if you've been to through therapy as much as I have, or have talked about your feelings enough with other people, not necessarily a therapist, there is always a mention of creating new pathways, because there's like a way we do things, just the cycles that we have, and this is like, the cause and the effect, and you were always just like, okay, this happened to me, therefore I will react that way. And what therapy or any kind of recovery, even if it's self like made healing and recovery, is to make is to force you to examine why you react that way, where it comes from, and maybe you can do it another way that's not harmful to you or other people,
That's
diba?
nice. Sige, I think I know. Going back to about being a better friend, because in I this is a specific situation that happened.
Mhm.
But when you're in high school or grade school, you have a barkada, and
Mhm.
then you lunch together, recess
Mhm. Mhm.
together. Well, yearly, di ba? You change classrooms yearly,
Mhm.
every year level. You have different set of friends. You'll discover other people. But of course, prior years, you already have like a set of group of friends. But
Mhm.
when you get to the different year level na, it changes. So one time, I think I was not able to join my group of friends for recess or lunch. Super tampo. I couldn't understand that. Kasi because I was spending time with this new people I'm speaking
Mhm.
with because
Mhm.
they're my new classmates. Although magkakilala kami kasi same school, pare-pareho lang naman yun, but we're a big batch eh, di ba?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
sometimes you won't get to see. So yun, na parang hindi ko gusto yung feeling na gano'n, na parang I have to be with them because they're my
Mhm.
supposedly
Mhm.
kada.
Mhm.
And I don't want to hurt them naman because I wanted to meet other people. So
Mhm.
after that, parang I didn't want to get attached with a
Mhm.
certain.
Mhm.
So I
I
had a
see.
lot of friends actually,
Mhm.
not one particular group.
Mhm.
I didn't want to attach myself na with this is the barkada of Lia and so and so and so and so. But we're friends. Ganon.
Parang
So
inunahan mo na. Parang inuunahan
nahan
mo
ko
na,
na na
right?
parang
Kasi parang before you exclude me, I'll exclude you first. Or
yeah,
it's
for
just
the
yung
tampo
parang
because I
at a
didn't want to be
distance.
yes. I didn't want to
Keep
be
everyone at a distance.
yes, that's true na. Because I don't want to hurt your feelings if I decide I want to spend time with other people.
Mhm.
Gano'n na parang I might say no to you kasi I
Parang
somebody but doesn't mean that you're not my friend, you're my friend sobra. But that I can't go with you because I made plans with other people. Kahit hindi ko sila
parang non-committal
yeah,
konti, right?
yun. That's
Right?
why that's my fear kasi I don't wanna be tied up to just
Mhm.
one
Mhm.
barkada.
Mhm. Maybe I'm similar in the same way na I really don't trust people in general, especially friends, unless it's like, tried and tested. Like, some, like, I think now, and tumatanda na tayo, parang feeling ko, I'm starting to open up finally to some friends about how I feel, or my family background, or, even relationship issues. But, these friendships are at least 15 years old. And I've already like tested and tried these friends that I really feel comfortable with them. And I just feel like, I guess in the past, I guess maybe in my teens, like I felt like I shared something and then it backfired. So I think we're all product of our previous experiences and our traumas, diba? Moving on to more serious, and even, of course, kailangan we had to ease them into the more serious things. What do you think is like a flaw of yours that causes like the major problems in your relationships or your personal life?
So this one was really before I was just aware of everything and
Mhm,
really moved forward with really not being that way anymore. So if I told you that it's the Kadiri years because
mhm,
it's really gross. It's like I cringe when I think about how I react to things, what
mhm,
the words that come out from my mouth.
mhm,
It's really uh, I wish I didn't do that, but I had to go through those, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
because flawed then, I was insecure. And the insecurity is like physical insecurity,
mhm,
which yun, alam mo yun, it's like
mhm,
right now it's just like I can't believe I was even thinking of that.
mhm,
And uh like and then messiah complex because I thought that I'll take care of you and I'll make sure that you this is how you should be taken care of. I will save you in that sense, but
mhm,
I
mhm,
thought that I that's what I wanted for myself. And because I think because of course I was in a broken family, I always thought and prior to that, when I went to a serious relationship, marami din nang iwan sa akin. So I always thought na, you know what, this person's gonna leave me. So if it's good and they're not leaving, I would do something to annoy that person.
mhm,
Self-sabotage.
mhm,
And then
mhm,
I'll say, see, told you, you won't like me. Kasi
mhm,
una, so sabi ko na yun kaagad.
mhm, uh-huh,
Get pa victim, kadiri na lahat ng sinabi ko, kadiri talaga yun, no? Like, because right now, I don't like that when I see it in a person, parang, oh, don't, you're not, na parang kawawa naman ako, lagi akong iniiwan, you're always
mhm,
leaving
mhm.
me, because I'm ugly.
Yeah,
You know,
mga
it's like, I don't,
self-pity.
I don't look like that eh. That's why I can't have a girlfriend, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm,
And of course, smart dear, like, oh, exactly what we discussed the last time. Di
mhm,
ba? That's why I carry
mhm,
over. It's like, basta masaya ka. As long as you're happy, I'm happy.
mhm.
So because of those things, I think I annoyed my partner and not a happy relationship. I just should have just spoken up. You know, I should have said, you
Mhm,
know what? We are together in this date. I don't like you looking at that person behind me kahit cute yan. You know, as simple as that. I would have said that now.
yeah.
I said, kasi ang pangit ko, kaya tuloy hindi ako pinapansin. Alam mo
Uh-huh,
yung gano'n, na parang we're already girlfriend. May cute lang na butch na dumaan, nakatingin ka na dun sa butch. Parang gano'n. Which is a normal reaction, but I don't like it. I just should have just said that. Diba?
mm. Well, to be fair, we're all a product of our age, our situation, right? So we all have, I feel like, Kadiri years because we weren't always as secure as we are now. We've had the life experiences and we've had different kinds of partners. We've had relationships come and go. We've been through a lot of hard times and we've built ourselves back up. So now I think we're much more secure when we say. And I guess because nga before, right? Parang takot ka parate mawala yung tao, like what's gonna happen to me? You're not secure in your appearance. You're not secure in anything. You're not secure in financially. You're not secure in your career. Nothing is secure. So of course you're gonna like hang on to the person that you're with and make like you feel like they should be providing you with that kind of security that you can only give yourself. And I feel like we're much better now in relationships. Not to say it's perfect, but I feel like everybody went through that also. And I think that's part of it. Because how would you know that you want to improve that and not be like that if you weren't like that before? Right? Kasi meron namang konting accountability. And you know why also what your contribution is to the failure of these relationships, right? Kasi you meet some people na they're already our age, tapos ang hirit pa rin parati naman akong iniiwan wala naman akong ginagawang masama, binigay ko naman lahat pero iniwan ako. And then that's it. And they're gonna stick to that story. And then the next partner comes along and it's the same thing again. May nakita yung partner, hindi nila gusto, umalis. Then it's just like it just, proves their notion na iniiwan ako kasi ganito ako, kasi ganyan ako, but never examined why, what's your contribution, and what can you change. So that's why this is our topic again. But I didn't know all of that about you because I always, thought that, you always had a long term relationship and you were always happy, 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 you know, that way. So and I'm sure na you've also heard all your life na ang bait mo naman, right? So parang sometimes it doesn't make sense. Mabait naman ako, bakit nangyayari lahat to sa akin, right? And I've been told that too, but I've always been hesitant to believe na I'm really a good person.
Bakit naman? I mean, ikaw, what do you think naman is your fatal flaw?
Ah, that's like the that is a loaded question for me. If the loaded question for you was, kamusta
Oh.
ka? In episode 1, like to ask me like, why why I am the way I am, or like what I think is wrong with me. I think I can come up with a whole like novel of that, right? And the good part about it is that I've spent so much time in what we call recovery or healing or therapy. I've on and off been in therapy for over a decade now, so I'm constantly working on myself and thinking about all these things and also analyzing my past and my upbringing. I mean, I've mentioned it before, but just like a brief summary, like I just feel like I came from an environment of like really complex like childhood family trauma. So it's not just with me. I think it's consistent like among myself and my siblings and probably my parents too, that we are all afflicted with like a lifetime of depression, anger issues, self-sabotage, like obsessive self-sacrifice, general sense of instability, like hypervigilance. I don't know if you know the term hypervigilance. It's like when you grow up in a very unstable, volatile household where at least one person or parent has a really bad temper, either like violent or just explosive. Like something can set that person off. You, as a child, you grow up like parang extreme form of walking on eggshells. You're very, very highly attuned to everybody's mood and behavior, and you're just trying to avoid an explosion. So parang bata ka pa lang before you understand anything at all about the world from your formative years, you're already trying to minimize yourself and please others because you're avoiding an explosion, or like everything feels like it's life or death and it's always survival mode. And when I think about it now and all the progress that I've made, I just feel like it's I think about myself as a child and also my siblings as children. I feel so bad. I feel so sad for these kids, and I just feel like nobody deserves to grow up in such like a terrible household, you know. And I mean, I have to give some credit to my parents for some uh good things, but also a lot of things, again, it's because of our culture of not talking about things. So they probably also aren't aware of the extent or the magnitude of its effect on us. But you know, thinking about that, it really makes me sad, and it really makes me feel like I need to do all the work to improve myself and also be a better person, and also constantly to give back. If I can enlighten somebody so that they feel better about themselves, or you know, if I can talk to a young person or prospective parent to make them be more aware as parents of their effect on their kids, you know, I think that's also why I'm like kind of like compelled to do that. So I mean, as a result of all of this stuff, I always feel like everything is the end of the world. Like if you like, kahit na it's like such a silly thing, like some stupid inconsequential thing na parang that doesn't go my way. Sometimes, for the most part, I really try to be strong and maybe deny that it affects me, or maybe it doesn't affect me. But there's like sometimes a mood strikes and something happens, and I just feel like I'm inconsolable. It does not make sense. I just feel like it's really, really the end of the world. And also, I just feel like, why, how come after everything I've been through, this thing can't go my way? Like I feel like any kind of happiness can be taken away, because that was also part of my upbringing, yung masasabihan kami na, okay, masyado na kayong masaya. So, let's take this away. Whatever it is that's making you happy. And it's just like, it's heartbreaking when I think about it. Like, because when you think about kids, tas parang masaya lang sila, and then I don't want you to be happy, so I'm going to take that away. Like, I still am sometimes, I'm still with all these years of, you know, helping myself, being in, you know, therapy, talking to people. It's such a mindset that I can't escape sometimes, that I can't fully be happy because it's going to be taken away. And so for me, uh the state of sadness is something predictable and I can control, because I'm so used to it. I'm so used to it. This is the normal, right? It's like when you're a fish, you don't know that you're in water, right? So you think that sadness and instability is the normal. And then someone shows you another side of things, and happiness or stability, parang, I don't know what that is, and I'm not comfortable. And I'm sure you're living this right now, these like theories of people brought up in like instability, who don't know what stability looks like and that it's a positive thing. And instead, these people who were raised the polar opposite, probably, of how you were raised, think of stability as a threat, because it's something that can be taken away. But sadness, you can't take it away kasi nandyan lang siya eh. You can always find a reason to be sad. But happiness, it feels like it's for someone else, and it's something that you can't control, and it's going to be taken away. So, you know, package of that's a whole package of like my tendency to be always suspicious of people, always convinced that I'm the only one I can depend on, like so hyper independent, like mamamatay na ako, hindi ko pa rin, I'm not gonna ask for help. Like you, sometimes I'm traveling with my wife, madadapa ako, and I'm obviously bleeding, pero I'm gonna get mad at her for helping me. Yung mga gano'n na parang weird. Bakit ka ganyan? Diba? It's parang, if you don't look back, if you just deny it and say, bakit ba? Just leave me alone. And you don't think back why. You're just, you can't escape it. So you can't help yourself. So I think that whole package and that whole like thing, it's like so thick. It's a constant, I think, weight, and it's also a constant ordeal for me, and it affects everybody I interact with. It affects myself, and I feel like it affects my health. when I let it take over, and it most especially it affects people close to me and people that I love and people I'm committed to. So that
Wow.
no
At,
drama.
um, but at least it's so interesting that it's already in your thoughts, no? That's
Mhm,
how I, and you already know that it's affecting your health,
mhm, mhm,
people around you, but you can see yourself reacting to
mhm,
it
mhm.
same way.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think that's the gift of self-awareness and reflection and talking about it. And it doesn't even mean that you're talking about it with someone or to a whole audience like the way we're talking about it now, but you're just opening that door in yourself where you're thinking, this is not the right way, this is not the normal state, this is not who I am. And also, you don't have to be stuck in that, mood or whatever it is. And if you try to analyze it and you're like, oh no, that this is just, you can say stop. 'Di ba? Pag you're overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed with my emotions now. I know how to soothe myself now. And I know how to like kind of like tell my emotions like, okay, stop muna. You're okay. You're safe. No one's gonna take anything away from you. People love you and whatever. And it's a kind of like reparenting also, and also just soothing yourself the way no one soothed you as a child. No one talked to you as a child. And also you weren't able to do that for yourself. So it's a whole part of it is also kind of like it's a little bit happy to have that opportunity to kind of like go back in time and like say no, everything's okay, and bring that back and heal that part of you in the present time. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, and also for me, that when we, kasi we get the chance to talk more, and
Uh-huh.
I get to observe actually how you would react on things, on how you would
Hmm.
respond to my messages.
Hmm.
Now it's clear sometimes.
You
But kasi
know,
always naman just listening, right? In my head naman kasi, I always think that everyone has their story. You know,
yeah.
maybe reacting because of something.
Hmm.
So it's not
Yeah.
like, pero before when I was younger, huh? Bakit? 'Di ba? Parang, galit ba sa akin to? Or you can feel naman pag hindi positive yung thoughts,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
you would react right away.
Hmm.
Bakit si ganyan, ganyan, ganyan? So, at least now, sharing it and getting to know you better,
Hmm.
you get to understand, okay. And it's
Kaya
nice.
pala ganon.
Oh, ganun.
I think part of the another benefit of talking about it and hearing it from other people is that it's a reminder to you that lahat tayo may pinagdadaanan tayo lahat. Everybody has a past. Everybody has some kind of like flaws in the way they were parented, the environment they grew up in. No matter how great it was, there's always, no one is free from it. And even the present time, everyone's going through something. There's always a struggle. And if you keep that in mind, I feel like you become more, you feel more for the person and you try more to understand instead of kind of like matching the angry or sad energy from that person. You kind of like step back and be like, oh no, they're going through something. So I'm not gonna match that energy. I'm gonna go like, I'm going to feel their pain first. And that changes the whole dynamic of the whole conversation if you don't match the anger and you just go like down. And I feel like you do that all the time. I feel like you do that all the time with your choice of very passionate, emotional partners. And when they meet you here and they're like, "Brah, brah, brah," you're like, no, like it's okay. Like, you're just like you're not matching the energy. And if someone is like passionate and emotional, sometimes they're like, bakit hindi mo ako sinasabayan? Like, fight me. I'm fighting you. I've already insulted you. Why aren't you insulting me? Right? And sometimes it feels like, wait. And then part of you also like thinks like, wait, maybe it's not necessary to communicate this way because she's communicating with me in a calmer way, in a stable way. And so you kind of like also step back, you know, right?
Actually had that. But before I would also react differently. I've really changed so much from before. Because I've noticed I'm really different. The way you are, you're one may
Mhm,
kwento about being hyper vigilant.
mhm,
I'm also
mhm,
like that before.
mhm,
Something can be taken away from you. I've also been that way, but I really wanted to change. Like
mhm,
the universe really give you the
mhm,
same thing over and
mhm,
over until you say, okay, I will try to change this reaction to
mhm,
do this.
mhm,
So one
mhm,
time, one kwento when that happened. So I always thought what attracted or being partnered with girls who are me, myself, and I. So I will say, okay, me, myself, and I na naman ito. But if you really think about it, maybe because I'm also an enabler, right?
mhm,
I
mhm,
it's good to step back.
mhm,
They're in that state,
mhm,
but it's better if you go back when they're not in that state and talk about it. Ako, before I'd step back tapos.
mhm,
And then when I'm pissed off, that's when I self-sabotage. Because I'm pissed off
mhm,
already. And maybe I want them to just leave me or
mhm,
something. I self-sabotage para they say, ayoko na sa'yo. See, ganyan, right?
uh-huh,
But now, I step back. I come back to it.
mhm,
Yesterday, you said foul language, which is not really good. Pero nasaktan talaga ako doon.
mhm,
Next time, I hope you really think of what you're saying. Because it's not nice. That's my favorite line. Minamak na nga ako dun eh by saying it's not nice. But it really isn't. But
mhm,
yeah. So I remember one time, in love na naman ako. So there's this person who was in the Philippines. I was in New York. Or sorry, New Jersey. And then I wanted to stay longer. But this person, super crush ko nung high school. I mean, grade school, high school. Basta, super crush ko sa school namin. And I never thought, kasi popular kid to, I never thought, of course, I was young,
mhm,
medyo 5 years ang age gap namin. So, your ultimate crush notices you, wants you, and goes. Umuwi ka na ng Pilipinas. But, I was having the time of my life when I was in New Jersey. You know that Kia was
mhm,
like learning new things, exploring, just
mhm,
having a good time, diba?
mhm,
Kahit alone ako
mhm,
noon. My old self would say, okay, uwi na ako.
mhm,
But but no, if you do this, yan na naman.
mhm,
And then when you go home, maiinis ka lang sa
mhm,
kanya because you didn't think of yourself because
mhm.
ayan naman, you wanted them to be happy. And then
So may preno ka na.
may preno na. Tapos sabi ko, in my head, if hindi naman ako, I'm not naman gonna stay because I want to look for other girls. Kasi ikaw na nga yung type ko eh. Sobrang excited. You know how much I like you so much,
Mhm,
diba? I would do that. So I said, you know what? If it was my old self, I would have said yes. But right now, just give me just
mhm,
moment. Babalik na ako soon. I just wanted this time here.
mhm.
Diba? I said no. Well, iniwan ako because I said no. But, you
But
know,
look at all the good that followed.
after. Exactly. So, that means, this person really didn't like to be with me.
Mhm,
Diba? I mean, hello, there's Skype already, there's already technology. What's
mhm,
a few months just for me to
mhm.
explore this new place and having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
and I feel like somebody who comes into your life already understands what it means to you to be doing what it was that you were doing. Tapos mag-demand na kaagad ng ganon. Not even considering how much it means to you what you're doing, what you were doing at that time. I think also is very telling of the other person. Because parang first of all, parang what right of you to like what right do you have na parang to ask or imply that it's a decision that you had to make yourself. Hindi yung parang, oh, dito ka na. Right? It's like, it's kind of, it doesn't take you into account also the progress that you wanted to make for yourself,
Exactly.
you
So
know.
that's when you start to love yourself, right? And not be
Mhm.
a martyr and stuff like
And
that.
and then it's good, it's a good practice and experience for you also because hindi ka namatay, right? Hindi nawala, hindi ka nawalan, and also so much good happened after that. So it teaches you na ano, like if you choose yourself, right? Na parang they're good things, it's not a disaster. So it was a good experience,
Yeah,
right?
although to be honest, I cried. I
Mhm.
did. Yakin naman kasi talaga ako, right? So I
Mhm.
cried. I got hurt
Uh-huh.
when. But yes, you're correct. Hindi ako namatay.
Hindi ka
Hindi
namatay,
lumuho ang mundo. And
right?
this happened because I had
Yeah.
friends there I'm talking to right now. So,
Yeah.
it's not, yes. So, yun. Lessons learned din talaga.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out that one of the advantages also of being self-aware and to be in this like state of constant like reflection and analysis is that it helps you focus on yourself. I think as you get older you realize that you really cannot change anybody, whether it's your parents, your friends, even your partner. You cannot change them. The only thing that you have control over is yourself and how you deal with things, your habits that you're going to change. And I feel like if you're in that state of always trying to focus on self improvement, you get busy. And then nawawalan ka ng time sa mga other things like, you know, chismis or, in getting yourself involved with other people's lives or like celebrity gossip. Maybe that's why I'm also kind of like I guess on the weird extreme of like, oh, I don't know who John Lloyd Cruz is or any of those movies because I'm too busy. I'm too busy dealing with myself and trying to make myself better for other people than to focus on other people. Because it's such a great distraction, diba? Kaya nga social media is such a great drug because it really, really distracts you from yourself. Kasi kung makikialam ka na parang, oh, nag-post na naman si ganito, ang ganda ng sapatos, ang yabang-yabang naman, blah, 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 bakasyon ng bakasyon, blah, blah, blah. And then i-judge mo na, may pang tuition ka ba, blah, blah, blah. It this really distracts you from yourself. Like, what are you doing to improve your life? What are you doing to have to send your family on a nice vacation? It really distracts you to just focus on other people. So it's a habit that I try to get away from, and maybe a future topic. That's also why I kind of like left the whole social media ish, especially the Facebook thing, because I did wanted to really get away from that. But that's a different topic altogether.
Yes, it's nice, yes, to be distracted and you're just trying to. But it's so nice when you're doing that for others. But of course, I think you're really doing it for yourself, right?
Mhm. The keyword is always to just keep working on yourself. I think it's a healthier way of going through life, like knowing that we all have flaws, we're all going through something, we all have struggles, we all had some kind of experience that affected the way that we are, but versus believing that you did nothing wrong and everyone else is the problem, it's counterproductive and it really destroys relationships, and it destroys all your relationships going forward if you don't take any accountability and you don't reflect on what you possibly could have done wrong.
And with that, how do you think it's helpful for everyone to be, to take accountability
Mhm.
and to be self-aware in
You
general?
know, I mean, disclaimer, I feel like I come from a place of privilege that allows this time and the energy for self-awareness and especially therapy, which costs a lot of money, and just to be able to be able to be in this state of just self-improvement. It's an effort. Not everybody is able to do that, so I'm not gonna fault people who are not able to do that. But and not everyone has the resources for it. But I think if you start with yourself, again, going back to the premise of you can't change anyone but yourself. But if you start with yourself, then it's an already a solution because you control everything about you and how you react. And we've all come from, as a culture, just a state of no accountability, right? Very, very rarely have we heard our elders apologizing to us or even admitting fault. If you had that growing up, bless you, you had a wonderful, you had wonderful role models. But we're raised in this just an agreement na wag mo nang banggitin yan. Parang holding someone accountable is a form of disrespect, is what we've learned, right? So there's no progress. You just keep repeating the same mistakes and you keep passing it on to the next generation because you don't know it's wrong. It's like, ako nga, pinahirapan ako dati, binubugbog ako, so therefore, pwede kitang paluin ngayon. And then you just keep repeating it because there's no point where you say, this is wrong. And you don't allow anyone else, especially children, to be empowered enough to say, you shouldn't do this to me, because there's no one stopping you, so you just pass it on, and then that's the cause of generational trauma. And then you have like 100 years of people just keep to pass this on to the future generation. So I feel like accountability is like the number one first step in any kind of relationship, family relationship, parental or romantic relationship. Just starting with yourself person, what did I do and what can I do differently? I think it just works wonders in all respects, right?
Yes, sobra. I mean, sorry, I have to go back to the government, no? Lagi ko when you say accountability
Stress.
government, diba? Because it's always somebody else's fault,
Uh-huh.
right? You did this thing, dahil kasi siya, diba?
Mhm.
Like, exactly what you said. Kasi nung panahon na yun, pinapalo ko, di exactly, dapat. So it's always the other person's fault,
Mhm. Mhm.
not yours.
Mhm.
So I think that's a flaw of all Filipinos. Just,
And
right?
yeah, and how wonderful would it be, right? I feel like it would be so refreshing if somebody who had wronged you actually said to you, even 50 years later, 40 years later, someone actually said to you, that time I could have been better and I shouldn't have been this way to you. You didn't deserve that. It doesn't matter how old you are, how long ago that was, and how much you've forced yourself to forget that. This a statement like that, it changes everything. It just makes you feel like validated. It makes you feel like, oh, I didn't invent that feeling of sadness or loss or hurt or trauma or whatever. Now you've been carrying consciously or subconsciously all your life. When someone acknowledges that and just takes accountability, they don't even have to do anything. They don't even have to say, let me repair that. And to make up for it, I'll do this. You don't even have to hear that. Just someone saying, that time I should not have done that and I regret it. And if you've been carrying it, I'm so sorry for that. It changes the world. It's such an easy thing to do, but it's so hard for people to do. You never hear it, and it's like, if that's something that I can start on my own, and I guess it's like, you want to be the person, right? Again, you want to be the person that you needed growing up. Like we said before, if I can be the first person to say, you know what, that time I didn't do it right and I'm sorry and I want to be better, then it's a start because that's also how you want to be treated. And if it stops with you and you're not going to give that to the next generation, I think it already stops and you've already made such a change in the world. I feel like, right?
That I have a story like that. The 15-year relationship, right? So I was the one who ended that, but it was just so hard for me. Even though I was the one who let go, I had that pain inside me. So anyway, I guess years pass or months pass. I got to talk with my ex then, and she goes, you know what? I just wanna say. She said a nice poem, and she said, "I'm really sorry." Wow.
Mm-hmm.
When she said that, boom, everything felt better. Like, I let go na. And
Mhm,
then, because before that, when we broke up, ako lang yung nag-break but when I talk about that, our
mhm,
relationship, I'm really crying and
mhm,
crying.
mhm, mhm.
The moment that she said, you know what, I know what you mean. I'm sorry. Literally, the next day, I wasn't crying.
You can let it go.
It's like, wow, magical. Seriously,
Yeah,
I felt it that go
yeah.
out of my body. So, saying sorry, you sincerely saying sorry,
Mhm,
sobrang is helpful.
mhm,
Yung may realization ka.
mhm.
That's why that's the moment I was able to let
Yeah, it's so
go.
helpful. So people who
I
are
am
listening, if you feel like you did something wrong and there's a chance for you to be take accountability, I think it would be great to do because when we're hurt, and I'm talking about everybody, no matter who you are, how strong you are, when you don't understand the pain that's inflicted on you, especially as a child, you make up a story. You make up a story to make it make sense. And usually that story involves it was my fault. I did something for this to happen to me. And years, decades later, if someone actually says to you, I'm sorry that happened, I wish I did better, it it breaks the story that you've told yourself, the story of like self-blame and all the behaviors associated with that, self-sabotage or whatever, and it validates you because you don't have to tell that story anymore, because a part of it is like you're convincing yourself this can't be real, a person like this can't possibly hurt me this way, so therefore I must have done something, or maybe it didn't happen or whatever. But when someone takes ownership of it and like feels regret, it just makes you feel so much better, and then parang hindi ka pala sira ulo, and it was right for you to feel that pain, and then you can start the healing. It's a different topic na again that we can discuss in the future. You don't need someone to say sorry to you in order for you to move on. That's a different topic, the closure part. But I'm just saying the whole accountability part, it just works wonders when someone does it. And it's
really
start
awesome.
with yourself. Start with yourself always, because that's the only person that really you can depend on. Right.
So, di ba you said it's work. Ikaw, what naman are the flaws
Mm-hmm.
that you think you have finally worked on and
Uh-huh.
can say, you know, I'm over that. I'm okay with that already.
I don't. When I mentioned these flaws, I guess the list that I came up with, I didn't think of like the past flaws. I kind of like thought of like the present existing flaws. So when I think about them as no longer existing, I feel like I they're still there, but I'm constantly trying to make myself better. So there are some things where I can stop myself now, like a lot of the temper things, or like just, one example actually, excuse me. One example is, uh, like I had a friend actually who said, "Did you grow up in a cave?" Kasi para daw akong caveman ng kumilos or something. Kasi daw, bakit daw pagka tinatawag ako, parang sinabi nila, "Hey, Kia," ang sagot ko daw parati, "Ano?" Ganun daw ako parate. And I didn't realize that until it was told to me. I thought that was a normal way of responding because that's just how I was raised. Like pag tinawag ka or when you call someone in my home, parating ganun yung sagot ng mga tao. Ano? Bakit ba? Ano? Yung ganun parate. So parang akala ko that's just how you answer. And so when that was brought to my attention, talagang I don't want anyone to feel that way. And I don't mean it. It's just how I don't know any other way. So then I just changed it and I started to say, yes, can I help you? So that it's not ano, even though in my head I just meant yes, what do you need? Pero yun yung lumalabas. So, we do those little things. Those are little like habits that we try to correct. But like the big things, it's always a constant struggle. And I can say that I'm much improved, but definitely, still carry a lot of it and still working through a lot of it too. I can't say absolutely I've eradicated these things, but the effort is always there.
Wow,
And
and
and some things actually that I realized that some flaws can actually be blessings.
And what do you mean by flaws being blessings?
Like I mentioned that I've been in therapy for such a long time, and I've developed the language of therapy, and I'm much kinder to myself now instead of very critical and echoing, the negative voices that I've heard before in the past. So what I mean about flaws being blessings is that, for example, my upbringing of being raised around a lot of anger, emotional volatility, being hypersensitive and hypervigilant. I would really not wish that on anyone because I just feel like it really, really destroys you. But like for me and my siblings, I feel like it's made us very attuned to our surroundings and other people's emotions. It's a little bit, it has its drawbacks, but in some way it's also a little bit of a superpower because we see and feel things differently. We have like a different, our mind works differently, so we kind of like preempt. We are able to sometimes correctly preempt other people's reactions just based on the facial expression, or just, I sometimes can detect already something just by the change of a person's breath or breathing pattern. Alam ko na that there's something wrong, and I can detect that more than other people can. And in general, our minds work so differently, and it works in a very complex and analytical way. Sometimes it's a little too much, but I feel like there were some good things that came out of it. Although again, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I just want to make a little bit. I want to make cuento about a little incident recently. With my sister Aya, because the two of us, and most especially her, she's always been told that she's too sensitive, very sensitive, very emotional, and whatever. And she also started going to therapy. So she said, "I'm done, you know, making myself feel bad when people say I'm sensitive. I'm sensitive. Yes, it's a gift. The sensitivity is a gift. It's a blessing." And sometimes we have to think of how we are as blessings instead of beating ourselves up for it, and knowing where it comes from and trying to correct the bad behavior is good, but also recognizing how special and unique we've all become because of how we've lived our lives and how we've made ourselves better. I think it's such a kind thing to do for yourself instead of constantly just beating yourself up.
Yes, that's also
Yan,
me. I can relate to your sister. I'm
right?
sensitive.
Right?
I'm able to step back, understand where they're coming from, not react right away. Um, is your sister Piscean or water sign?
I think
I
she's
usually
Capricorn. I think she's a Capricorn, but yeah, I mean that's your gift also, is being able to step back and not match the fire, and
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah,
calmly approaching a situation. It's such a good thing to have.
it's nice. And
Yeah.
also, I would also like to share because I really, ninjas, when I said it's my ninja skills here, I really trained to see differently already, react differently, love myself so much.
Mhm,
So there are some things that I really did. So I
mhm,
have a list actually. So one, you really have to stop comparing yourself to
mhm,
others.
mhm,
When I stop comparing myself to others, I got to focus on myself.
mhm,
Next, stop also having stories in your head. So sometimes that was me also before. I had a reaction I wanted that person to say, and that person didn't say that. It meant others. Hindi. Diba? Parang when I wanted them to say this,
mhm.
they didn't say it. In my head, she's not a nice person. Something like that. So
Yeah.
you have to stop having stories in your head.
Mhm,
Don't second guess other people. Sometimes you have to take it as it is.
mhm,
If you ask them, masarap ba yung luto ko? Okay siya.
mhm.
Eh, ang gusto mong reaction
Eh,
din, di ba?
oh my God, ang sarap!
Sobrang sarap. But it doesn't mean hindi siya masarap,
Yeah.
'di ba? Maybe that's how they don't use much words, but
Yeah. But,
Yung pala
you
pag
know.
ayaw talaga nila, they will say, ang pangit nito, no? Di ba? I mean, people are saying, sabi niya okay siya kasi pangit siya talaga. Pero that person,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they don't like it, they'll say that they don't like it.
Yeah.
If they like
Yeah.
it, okay siya talaga,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
So another thing I learned is understand that every person is unique and they have their own story.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that also. So
Mm-hmm.
don't generalize. Everybody will have their own
Mm-hmm.
unique
Mm-hmm.
action or something.
Yeah. And I guess part of it is also trying to remember that what you don't know, you don't know. Don't make
Exactly.
assumptions. One thing that I learned recently, actually, a very helpful thing, is that if you ask somebody what's wrong and they say nothing's wrong, everything's okay, or they don't bring it up to your attention, don't like insist, no, something's wrong. I did something wrong. And like, no, I did whatever. And then like, consume yourself with that. It's possible that you might have done something or the other person is not ready to talk about it, but it's not your responsibility to pry it out of them. It's their responsibility to bring it up to you. Now, if you really feel like you did something, then you apologize for it. But if you don't know and you already asked, what's wrong? And they said, no, it's okay or whatever, that's it. It's don't bear that weight of like, oh my God, hindi sinasabi like, and you beat yourself up for it.
Exactly.
It's not your responsibility anymore. It's everybody has their own responsibility to, you know, uh, uh, bring up their own needs. And if they don't, then you can't read minds, and that's why also not assuming that, oh yeah, if kung mahal niya ako, kailangan, dapat alam na niya yun, di ba? So,
But you have to make them feel comfortable to talk to you. That's
yeah.
for me.
Mhm.
If you
Mhm.
really want them to bear it all, you have to make sure that they're
Yeah.
comfortable. And then, no, of course, eventually know your boundaries. Stick with it, diba? Even
Mhm.
though you feel like, oh, no, I have to stick with what I believe in, and I have to, stick with what I want to say. And of course, love yourself, of course, above all, and then seek help when you need it. So those are the things that I've
Mhm.
learned
Mhm.
through my ninja years. It's really a long time.
A long time, and we have time to thank for our maturity and the years that we've experienced, that we're much better at handling things now. And for those who are a little younger having a hard time, it does get better as long as you do the work yourself, right? Yeah, I think it gets better, and we learned how to handle things better, and it just becomes better after that.
Yeah.
And
A super interesting tell-all
yeah,
episode.
tell all episode.
Jen.
And
Grabe.
again, we're over time again, but I didn't even notice the time pass. Actually, I was looking at my like, oh shit, ang haba na pala. So sorry na lang kayo kung nahabaan kayo masyado, but we had a blast, and I
Always.
hope that you enjoyed it too. Right?
So yeah, so please don't forget to subscribe to us in Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever you listen to us. Or
Mm-hmm.
wherever you listen to us.
Yeah, don't forget our social media accounts too. Salt and Pepe Pod on Instagram, Salt and Pepe Podcast on Facebook, Salt and Pepe Podcast on TikTok.
And yes, of course, our website, saltandpepe.gay. And for shortcuts to our podcast, just enter spotify.saltandpepe.gay or apple.saltpepe.gay. And to be direct, so you'll be able to go into your pages right away.
Sorry to have to cut this short, but it's already very long and we could go on and on. Thank you so much for listening again. Until next time, until our next episode, thank you for spicing up your life.
And of course, by adding a pinch of salt and pepper to your day.
This is Shakira Season
And
saying,
Lia,
saying bye and see you next time. Thanks for letting us spice up your day.
keep on listening to Salt and Pepe Podcast.
Konting alat
Konting anghang.
and Pepe all around.
This has been Lia.
And Shakira.
See you next time.